This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 3 of Unlock Your Ear, where we're diving into one of music's most magical ingredients, harmony. Today we're breaking down what harmony actually is, and why those beautiful layered sounds can give you goosebumps. So let's get into it. A single 4-chord loop sits underneath tens of thousands of pop songs, yet each one feels different. A movie score chills you. A gospel choir lifts you. A game soundtrack locks you into focus. Same raw notes. So here's the puzzle. What's harmony doing behind the scenes? That 4-chord loop? It isn't magic, and it isn't a shortcut. It's a frame. And what makes songs feel different is how composers stretch, color, and occasionally snap that frame. Think of the moment a superhero theme hits its highest point just as the character doubts themselves most. Or when a lo-fi beat suddenly slips in a bittersweet chord that makes the whole track feel nostalgic instead of chill. Those shifts aren't accidents. Producers, game composers, and songwriters are quietly steering your expectations, playing with tension and release the way a good comedian plays with timing. In this episode, we'll zoom in on those choices. Why one chord change feels inevitable, while another feels like a plot twist. How tiny tweaks to a basic progression reshape mood, and how your ear can learn to predict, and then subvert, these moves in your own music. Zoom in even further, and you'll notice harmony working at 2 scales at once. The big, where are we going moves, and the tiny colors inside each chord. Film composers lean on the first scale, plotting long arcs so you feel the story turning before the characters do. Jazz and R&B producers obsess over the second, swapping a plain triad for a lush extension that tilts the emotion by a few degrees. Game and ambient artists go one step further, stretching time so you stop hearing progressions and start hearing a slowly shifting harmonic weather system you live inside. The first secret to decoding harmony is that the vertical stack of notes is only half the story. The other half is motion. Take a simple 1-5-1-4 loop you already know. You can leave it exactly as written and still change its emotional contour by how you voice each chord. What note sits on top? What stays the same? And what moves by tiny steps instead of big jumps? Producers talk about voice leading, but you can hear it as, do the notes glide, stagger, or leap? Listen to 2 singers harmonizing a melody. If one part holds a note while the other shifts underneath, your ear latches onto the stable tone and hears the harmony pivot around it. Swap roles, and suddenly the emotional center feels like it moved, even if the chord symbols on paper didn't change. That's harmony at the micro level. Who moves, who stays, and how far each part travels. Now add color tones. Instead of treating scales as abstract lists, think of each extra note you add above a basic chord as a character with a personality. The second ninth often feels open or yearning. The fourth 11th can feel suspended or questioning. The 7th adds a sense of direction or ache, depending on context. 2 chords with the same root and quality can feel worlds apart based on which of these characters you invite in and which you mute. Style is mostly about how a genre answers 3 questions. 1. How dense can the harmony get before it's too much? 2. How much surprise is welcome? 3. How long do we dwell in one place? A trap beat might live on one chord, but keep adding and removing color tones with synth layers and tuned percussion, so the landscape shifts without ever changing chords. A jazz ballad might touch 5 different tonal centers in 8 bars, but keep the top note moving smoothly so it still feels like one thought. Culture and tuning push this further. In a choir singing pure fifths and thirds, the lack of beating between partials creates that locked, glowing sound. Detune those intervals slightly, and you get the shimmer of a string ensemble or the uneasy blur of a horror score. Microtonal and modal traditions go even further, putting notes in between the piano keys so they can lean into shades of tension our equal-tempered ears aren't used to, like discovering new colors between blue and green. Under all of this, your brain is constantly betting on what comes next. When the harmony delivers, you get satisfaction. When it dodges and lands somewhere nearby, you get that goosebump surprise that keeps you listening. Think about the tiny choices inside real tracks. In Adele's Someone Like You, listen to how the right-hand piano notes trace a gentle line while the left hand shifts roots. That smooth top line glues each change into one long sigh instead of a set of blocks. In lo-fi or indie tracks, producers often keep a single synth note droning while guitars cycle underneath. Your ear treats that held tone as home, even when the harmony wanders. You can hear the opposite in gospel and K-pop. Multiple parts leaping in different directions, like spotlights crossing on a stage. The harmony feels energetic, not because the chords are exotic, but because the voices refuse to move politely. Micro-adjusted tuning adds another layer. Choirs and barbershop groups subtly nudge notes so certain intervals lock, creating a physical buzz in the room. Some EDM drops do a twist on this with stacked, detuned synths. Dozens of almost aligned pitches beating against each other until the sound seems to vibrate around your head, not just in it. Studios are already testing systems that listen back to you, steering harmonies the way GPS recalculates a route. Nudge towards brightness if your focus dips, or darken the landscape when you need calm. In shared virtual venues, each listener might hear a slightly different reharmonization, like customized subtitles on the same movie. Composers could become part musician, part UX designer, mapping harmonic paths the way game devs design branching storylines. Next time you hear a track, zoom in on how the background shifts, like lighting changes on a stage. Film composers, beat makers, and game devs are already using adaptive harmonies that follow your choices in real time, blurring the line between listener and co-author. As tools evolve, your taste in these twists may shape how the music literally rewrites itself. Before next week, ask yourself, when I hear the chord progression or melody from this episode that gave me goosebumps, what exact emotion or memory is it pulling up? And where else in my life am I feeling that same tension or release? If I treated my week like a piece of music, which notes, specific habits, people, or commitments feel out of key with the harmony I say I want? And what's one of those I'm honestly ready to drop or change? Listening back to the example where they layered simple lines to create rich harmony, what's one small, realistic second line I could add to an existing routine, like a short walk after emails or a 5-minute wind down before bed, that would make my daily life feel more layered and musical rather than crammed and chaotic? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!